Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is Gaurav Sharma and with me is Renuka, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. As the world fights the COVID-19 pandemic, we begin with a message of caution to stay safe and protected by following these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain social distancing, and focus on hand and face hygiene. The headlines. India administers more than 300 million COVID-19 vaccine doses in record time. 39 people killed in Myanmar as security forces clamp down on protests across the country. India's Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar says world has accepted India's leadership in mitigating climate change. Government of India deeply committed to the welfare and protection of Indians abroad, says External Affairs Minister in Parliament. Taylor Swift and Billie Eilish win top prizes at the 63rd Grammy Awards. And in cricket, India to take on England in the 3rd T20 match in Ahmedabad on Tuesday. India has scaled a significant peak in COVID-19 vaccinations as more than 300 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines have been administered in record time. Till now, 315 million doses have been administered to the beneficiaries. The countrywide vaccination drive was rolled out on 16th of January 2021 for healthcare workers, and vaccination of the frontline workers started from the 2nd of February. The next phase of COVID-19 vaccination commenced from the 1st of March for those who are over 60 years of age and for people aged 45 and above with specified comorbid conditions. Meanwhile, the country's COVID-19 recovery rate reached 96.68% with the total recovery of more than 17,000 patients in the last 24 hours. The ministry said that more than 1 crore 10 lakh patients have already recovered from this disease. Now let's take a look at the coronavirus updates from around the world.
The Netherlands has suspended the use of the Oxford Astrazeneca coronavirus vaccine over concerns about possible side effects. The government said that the move is precautionary and will be enforced till the 29th of this month. Ireland has also made a similar decision over reports of blood clotting in adults in Norway. Ireland's vaccine task force has recommended temporarily suspending the rollout of AstraZeneca's COVID vaccine. Denmark, Norway, Bulgaria, Iceland and Thailand have already halted their use of the AstraZeneca vaccine. The European Medicines Agency is carrying out a review into incidents of blood clots. AstraZeneca, on the other hand, has stated that there is no evidence of an increased risk of clotting due to the vaccine. Anne Taylor, AstraZeneca's chief medical officer, said that around 17 million people in the EU and UK have received the vaccine, and the number of cases of blood clots reported in the group is lower than the hundreds of cases that would be expected among the general population. Meanwhile, Thailand announced on Monday its plans to go ahead with AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine. Indonesia, however, said it would delay administering the vaccine due to the reports of blood clots among some recipients in Europe and would await a review from the World Health Organization, WHO. On Friday, the WHO, citing the European Medicines Agency, said there was no indication that the events of blood clots were caused by the vaccination. Half of Italy's regions have gone into the strictest form of lockdown on Monday. The government announced the restrictions in a bid to curb the latest spike in coronavirus infections. The spike has brought COVID-19 hospital admissions beyond manageable thresholds, according to reports. Brazil has reported 1,127 new deaths from COVID-19. In the past 24 hours, Brazil recorded 12,818 deaths from the virus this week, pointing to a resurgence as bad as that of last year, according to reports. Singapore said on Sunday it hopes to start reopening its borders to tourists at the end of 2021 and could allow travel with Australia even sooner under a travel bubble that could start in July. In Jordan, protests have erupted across many of the country's cities and provincial towns against the government's coronavirus restrictions. The protests come a day after oxygen supply ran out at a state hospital, leading to the deaths of at least 6 COVID-19 patients, according to reports on Sunday. Meanwhile, Bangladesh is witnessing a surge in COVID-19 cases with 26 people dying in the last 24 hours on Monday. It also reported 1,773 new cases of corona infection in the country over the same period. The death toll has gone up to 8,571. The total number of people infected in the country now stands at 5,59,000. Prasar Bharati special correspondent reports from Dhaka that Bangladesh is keeping the ICU beds ready in view of the rise in corona cases in the country. It is also looking into the possibility of a new strain of virus affecting the people in Bangladesh in the new wave. Vaibhav Jyotsna Srivastav for World News, All India Radio.
This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
3 steps to stay protected and stay safe from COVID-19. Wear face mask, 2 gaz ki duri to maintain social distancing, maintain hand and face hygiene.
External Affairs Minister of India Dr. S. Jaishankar apprised both houses of the Indian Parliament of the recent developments pertaining to the welfare of Indian NRIs and PIOs abroad on Monday. In his address, he asserted that the government is deeply committed to the welfare and protection of Indians abroad. In today's Hotspot section, we are bringing excerpts from the minister's address on the welfare of Indian diaspora.
Speaking on the COVID-19 pandemic and government's response to the challenges that have emerged, the minister said that under the Vande Bharat mission, the government is bringing stranded Indians home.
A total of 45,82,043 people from 98 countries have returned to India under the aegis of the Vande Bharat mission. The vast majority came through flights, though there were also some who came by ship and across land crossings. We facilitated the return from India of more than 1.1 lakh foreign passport holders to 120 countries in the same period. Many of them were PIOs and NRIs.
Dr. S. Jaishankar said that the government is also providing necessary amenities in foreign countries. He said that these included providing food, shelter and transportation to supplying masks, PPEs, medical support and even facilitating hospital stays. The Gulf nations are home to a significant number of Indian diaspora. In his address, Dr. Jaishankar explained how the Gulf has been the focal point of India's welfare efforts.
From the community, the overall picture was that our people were well taken care of during the pandemic by host authorities. From the governments, the message was of appreciation for the responsibility shown by our people amidst the pressures of the pandemic. We were told that the message of discipline and social distancing that was so strongly propagated by our leadership at home had an equally strong impact abroad. The support extended from India for the stay and travel of our citizens was warmly acknowledged by community and governments alike.
Difficult crew change procedures in different countries had placed Indian sailors under a great amount of stress. Indian sailors on board MV Jaganand and MV Anastasia faced a prolonged ordeal due to delay in the grant of crew change permission in China. However, Dr. Jaishankar said that with consistent diplomatic efforts, the sailors were brought home.
Members would recall the predicament of 2 crews who were in particular difficulty outside Chinese ports. Their predicament too was eventually resolved through greater perseverance. We continue to interact with many governments to devise more friendly SOPs for crew change requirements.
Speaking on the issue of Indian students studying abroad, the minister said that their welfare has been of particular concern and it is the endeavour of the government to encourage an early return to normalcy.
Welfare of students studying abroad has also been of particular concern to us. Across the world, our embassies were given instructions to reach out to them, monitor their situation and assist their return where required. As with workers and professionals, the focus has now shifted to the going back to universities.
The External Affairs Minister concluded his address by asserting that the Modi government has been deeply committed to the welfare and protection of Indians abroad.
I wish to assure this august House that in the days ahead, as our quest for normalcy progresses, as the global marketplace and workplace resume activities, as centers of study reopen their doors, we will be there to encourage, facilitate, secure and support.
"39 people were killed in Myanmar on Sunday in what had been the most violent day of the protest since it began more than 6 weeks back. The security forces killed 22 anti-government protesters in the Hangtayar suburb of Yangon. 16 more protesters were killed in another places of Myanmar, according to reports. A policeman was also killed in the protest. 2 Chinese-funded factories were also burnt on Sunday. After the factory was set on fire in the industrial area of Yangon, security forces opened fire on protesters in the suburb, which is home to migrants from across the country. The state media announced that martial law has been imposed in Hangtayar and another district of Yangon in the wake of arson and violence. Anti-Chinese sentiment has been rising in Myanmar since the protests began in response to the perceived support of China to the military government in the country. The Facebook page of the Chinese embassy in Myanmar had a huge number of negative comments in response to its posting of the news about arson. The Chinese embassy in Myanmar said in a statement that some Chinese business factories in Hangtayar industrial zone in Yangon were destroyed in arson. It said many Chinese employees were injured and trapped. The embassy released a security warning to the Chinese businesses and staff in Myanmar. It called upon the government of Myanmar to punish the culprits and ensure the safety of its people and business in the country. Meanwhile, United Nations Secretary General Special Envoy Christine Schraner Burgener on Monday strongly condemned the bloodshed in Myanmar amid increasing violence following the military's crackdown on peaceful protests and its continued refusal to follow international calls for restraint, dialogue and full respect for human rights after the coup. According to a statement, the Special Envoy for Myanmar has personally heard from contacts in Myanmar heartbreaking accounts of killings, mistreatment of demonstrators and torture of prisoners over the weekend. Burgener is also in close contact with regional leaders and Security Council members on their continued support towards her efforts to calm the situation in Myanmar. Large numbers of protesters have taken to the streets of Myanmar since the military seized power in the first February coup, ousting the elected government of Aung San Suu Kyi, despite the increasingly deadly posture taken by security forces to quiet the wave of protests.
External Affairs Minister of India, Dr. S. Jaishankar, on Monday said that the United Kingdom and India share strong ties. Replying to a question raised by a legislator in the Rajya Sabha on the issue of racism in the UK, Mr. Jaishankar said the government is monitoring the matter and it will be taken up when required. He said India always takes up the issue of racism and other forms of intolerance. He said India, being the land of Mahatma Gandhi, can never turn a blind eye to any form of racism, particularly in a country where a large Indian diaspora lives.
As the land of Mahatma Gandhi, we can never ever turn our eyes away from racism wherever it is, particularly so when it is in a country where we have such a large diaspora. As a friend of the UK, we also have concerns about its reputational impact. What I do want to say, sir, is that we have strong ties with the UK. We will take up such matters with great candor when required. We will monitor these developments very, very closely. We will raise it when required, and we will always champion the fight against racism and other forms of intolerance.
Meanwhile, New Zealand's Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern on Monday said that the world still needs to have conversations about racism and white supremacy. Ms. Ardern was speaking at an event to commemorate the 2 years of the white supremacist attack on 2 mosques in the city of Christchurch. Armed with high-capacity semi-automatic weapons, Australian Brenton Tarrant killed 51 people and injured dozens when he opened fire on Muslim worshippers on the 15th of March 2019. In a televised address, Ms. Ardern said, "Every global leader has a responsibility as their voice can be broadcast anywhere, anytime."
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh said that the government is relentlessly working to build an extensive road network along the India-China border. In a written reply in the Rajya Sabha on Monday, Mr. Singh said that 42 roads having the length of more than 1,530 kilometers have been completed so far. He said 61 India-China border roads of length of over 3,323 kilometers have been identified as strategically important along India-China border. Mr. Rajnath informed that 19 India-China border roads are under progress, which are targeted to be completed by 2023. China's capital Beijing is facing a heavy sandstorm as the city was covered with a thick brown dust on Monday. Monday morning saw the city witnessing heavy winds blowing in from northern parts of China, reducing visibility to less than 1,000 meters. The China Meteorological Administration announced a yellow alert on Monday morning, saying that the sandstorms had spread from Inner Mongolia into the provinces of Gansu, Shanxi, and Hebei, which surrounds Beijing. The meteorological agency called it the strongest sandstorm in the past decade, which has reached the level of a strong storm which has smothered the capital and other northern Chinese regions. Beijing's official air quality index reached a maximum level of 500 on Monday morning, with floating particles known as PM10 reaching 9,000 micrograms per cubic meter in some districts. Readings of PM2.5, smaller particles that infiltrate the lungs, also crossed 700 micrograms per cubic meter. State media reported that more than 400 flights have been cancelled at 2 international airports in Beijing. As per reports, Beijing faces regular sandstorms in March and April as a result of its proximity to the massive Gobi Desert as well as deforestation throughout northern China. Beijing and surrounding regions have been suffering from relatively high levels of pollution in recent weeks, with the city also shrouded in smog during the opening of Parliament starting on the 5th of March. Meanwhile, China has asked for WHO-approved vaccines from applicants if they want to be considered for inclusion in China's plans for visa facilitation. China has relaxed the visa norms for some countries on the condition of inoculations by Chinese-made vaccines at present. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson told the media in Beijing that China will work with other countries to promote mutual recognition of vaccination. Prasar Bharati special correspondent in Beijing reports that experts say mutual recognition of vaccines will be important for the vaccine passport system, but data transparency related to vaccine could stand in the way of achieving mutual recognition of vaccines before allowing international travel. Experts added that for a mutual recognition of vaccines, 2 countries would have to share information on the vaccine and its effects. It is not yet clear whether Chinese vaccine companies will also apply in other countries to be considered for a vaccine passport. China is signaling that it will open its borders for international travel ahead of its hosting of the Winter Olympic Games in February 2022.
Britain's Cabinet Office will set up a second flagship headquarter in Glasgow as the government plans to move some of its operations to Scotland. The decision comes in wake of growing support for Scottish independence in recent times. In a statement, Cabinet Office Minister Michael Gove said that the move will strengthen the diversity of the UK civil service and ensure that Scottish voices shape everything the government does. The statement added that the Foreign Office plans to create 500 new jobs at an existing office in East Kilbride, while in total 1,000 more jobs will be located in Scotland over the next 4 years. Ties between Scotland and the rest of Britain have been badly strained by a much-criticised COVID-19 pandemic response and Brexit, which a majority in Scotland opposed. Scottish nationalists are pushing for an independence referendum to be held after Scottish Parliament election in May, but British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has said such votes should happen only once in a generation. In a referendum in 2014, Scots had voted 55% to 45% to remain in the United Kingdom. The U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin has arrived in Japan as part of his tour of key Indo-Pacific partners. Secretary Austin announced that he will visit senior government leaders in Japan and the Republic of Korea and senior government leaders in India. Secretary Austin is expected to visit India on the 19th of March. In a statement, Secretary Austin said that he will meet India's Defense Minister Rajnath Singh and other senior national security leaders. The statement added that he will discuss the deepening of the US-India major defense partnership and advancing cooperation between the 2 countries for a free, prosperous and open Indo-Pacific and Western Indian Ocean region. Meeting the leaders of the US Indo-Pacific Command earlier, Secretary Austin said that the Indo-Pacific region is home to some of the most pressing national security issues of our time. In a tweet, he added that he had a productive discussion about their vision for the region as a priority theater.
India and Maldives have conducted the first joint hydrographic survey of northern islands in Maldives on Sunday. In a tweet, the Indian Embassy on Maldives hailed the development as a landmark achievement for both Maldives' National Defence Force and bilateral maritime cooperation. The survey was conducted under the MOU on hydrography signed in June 2019. The statement said that the hydrographic surveys will help chart Maldivian waters accurately. This would in turn will facilitate the blue economy, identified as the first of the 5 priority sectors in the Strategic Action Plan. It added that it will have a positive impact on coastal zone management, navigation, fisheries, environment protection, and economic growth. Meanwhile, direct flight services have started between the two countries from Mafaru to Mumbai. The Maldivian National Airline will operate weekly thrice flights. A dangerous winter storm pummeled parts of the United States Rockies and Western Plains with heavy snow. It shut down Denver's busy airport and forcing the closure of major highways. Snowfall accumulations were expected to reach 1 meter or more in high-altitude areas. The deteriorating conditions forced Denver International Airport, the nation's 5th busiest airport, to close all 6 of its runways, officials said. The airport recorded more than 48 centimeters of snow. The closure will have minimal impact on airport operations, as more than 2,000 weekend flights were already cancelled, including 1,346 on Sunday. The heavy and wet snow was threatening trees and power lines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will hold a virtual summit with the Prime Minister of Finland, Sanna Marin, on Tuesday. During the summit, the two leaders will cover the entire spectrum of bilateral relationship and will also exchange views on regional and global issues of mutual interest. The virtual summit will provide a blueprint for the future expansion and diversification of India-Finland partnership. India and Finland enjoy warm and friendly relations based on shared values of democracy, freedom, and rules-based international order. Both countries have very close cooperation in the areas of trade and investment, education, innovation, science and technology, as well as research and development. Both sides also have ongoing collaboration in the joint development of a quantum computer using artificial intelligence to address societal challenges. Around 100 Finnish companies are actively operating in India in various sectors such as telecom, elevators, machinery, and energy, including renewable energy. Around 30 Indian companies are also active in Finland, mainly in IT, auto components, and hospitality sector. This is All India Radio giving you the world news.
Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar has said that the world has accepted India's leadership position in terms of championing measures to mitigate climate change. He said that India is the only country in the G20 forum implementing the Paris Accord commitments on renewable energy and afforestation. Mr. Javadekar was answering to a question in Rajya Sabha on Monday.
India is in leadership position as far as renewable energy is concerned. All over, more than 14-fold increase in solar production has taken place in last 6 years. More importantly, Prime Minister declared 175 gigawatts target to be achieved by 2022, and we are on course to achieve that. And you will be happy that Prime Minister has further scaled it up to 450 gigawatts.
The Environment Minister said that the country has already overachieved in terms of its target of reduction in emissions set under the Paris Agreement. He informed that with the assistance of the private players, the government is marching ahead with robust results in terms of production of renewable energy, afforestation, and substantial reduction in emissions. Noted Kathakali artist Chemancheri Kuniraman Nair passed away in Kozhikode, Kerala this morning. A 105-year-old had won the hearts of Kathakali lovers for several decades for his mudras, charm and grace. Nation had awarded him with Padma Shri in 2017 for his contributions to Kathakali. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has expressed grief over the demise of the Kathakali maestro, Guru Chemancheri Kuniraman Nair.
At the 63rd Grammy Awards, Taylor Swift and Billie Eilish won the top prizes, while Beyoncé became the most awarded female artist in Grammy history with her 28th win. Taylor Swift was awarded Album of the Year for her lockdown album, Folklore.
And the Grammy goes to Folklore, Taylor Swift!
Billie Eilish Everything I Wanted won Record of the Year.
And the Grammy goes to Billie Eilish.
Beyoncé and her 9-year-old daughter Blue Ivy Carter won the Best Music Video Award for Brown Skin Girl, making Blue Ivy one of the youngest Grammy winners in history. In cricket, India will look forward to continue its winning spree as they face England in the third T20 match at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad on Tuesday. India made a roaring comeback in the second T20 on Sunday to defeat England by 7 wickets and level the series. However, India need to iron out some issues at the top of the order as KL Rahul failed to fire in both games so far. Rahul, who scored 1 run in 2 matches, may get replaced by Vice-Captain Rohit Sharma at the top of the batting order. Meanwhile, India skipper Virat Kohli has become the first-ever batsman to score 3,000 runs in T20 International. Kohli achieved the milestone during the second T20 International against England at Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad last night. The skipper was just 72 runs behind from touching the landmark figure, and with his unbeaten knock of 73 runs, he crossed the 3,000 run mark. He now has 3,001 runs from 87 T20 matches. New Zealand's Martin Guptill is second on the list of leading run getters in T20 cricket, having scored 2,839 runs in 99 matches. India's Rohit Sharma comes third in the list with 2,773 runs in 108 matches. In football, Arsenal defeated Tottenham in London Derby in their Sunday night Premier League encounter. Alexander Lacazette scored a controversial penalty and Martin Odegaard scored for the hosts, while Eric Lamela scored a stunning goal for Tottenham. Lamela was later sent off, leaving a 10-man Tottenham side limiting the Arsenal onslaught to 2 goals to end the match 2-1.
Benchmark domestic stocks today fell more than 0.5% amid mixed global cues. The rupee appreciated 31 paise against the US currency, a report from the Business World.
The BSE Sensex declined 397 points or 0.78% to settle at 50,395. The NSE Nifty also lost 101 points or 0.67% to close at 14,930. The broader market at BSE also fell. The BSE Mid Cap Index ended 0.72% down, while the BSE Small Cap Index depreciated 0.53%. In the Sensex pack, shares of 10 companies gained while 20 logged losses. In sectoral indices, 12 out of 19 sectors logged losses. And in the global equity market, Asian stocks were mixed. Japan's Nikkei gained 0.2%, South Korea's Kospi climbed 0.3%, and Singapore's Straits Times added 0.4%. On the other hand, China's Shanghai Composite Index declined 1%, and Hong Kong's Hang Seng fell 0.3%. European stocks were up, but trading in a narrow range in intraday trade. Brent crude prices rose amid better demand outlook. In intraday trade, Brent crude prices were trading around $69.10 per barrel. Back home, gold prices added 130 rupees per 10 grams at multi-commodity exchange for April contracts. Gold futures was at around 44,880 rupees per 10 grams. Silver prices also gained 450 rupees to around 67,300 rupees per kilogram for March contracts. And at the forex market, the rupee rose 31 paise to 72 rupees and 48 paise against the US dollar. Nishit Kumar for World News, All India Radio.
Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. The Washington Post reports on the Derek Chauvin trial and says that the accused officer's attorney asks for continuance and change of venue in George Floyd case. The Sydney Morning Herald writes that the Academy Awards will make history this year with 2 women up for Best Director. A quick look at the headlines once again. India administers more than 300 million COVID-19 vaccine doses in record time. 39 people killed in Myanmar as security forces clamp down on protests across the country. India's Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar says world has accepted India's leadership in mitigating climate change. Government of India deeply committed to the welfare and protection of Indians abroad, says External Affairs Minister in Parliament. Taylor Swift and Billie Eilish win top prizes at the 63rd Grammy Awards. And in cricket, India to take on England in the third T20 match in Ahmedabad on Tuesday.